Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to be creating this advanced dashboard in Figma. Here, let's jump back to the files. Let me show you the details of this design. If you look at this design here, the lightning effect here, everything is pixel perfect. We're going to cover everything you see here from scratch. So that means this video is beginners friendly regardless of your experience. So this dashboard, it's something you will want to add to your portfolio. If you're new to my channel, please kindly hit the subscribe button because you don't want to miss our next tutorial update, which is designing this amazing Web3 hero section. This is the image of the dashboard we're going to be creating. I'll be putting the link in the description below so we can use this as a guide. To get started, I'm going to click on the empty frame here and then go to local variable. Then we can create new variables. The variable I want to create here, it's a color. So it's going to be BG, that's the name. And I'm going to add another one called BG minus surface. Then I'll press enter. The next one is going to be stroke, still a color. Then I can add another one again, which is going to be search minus BG. Then I will add one again, which is going to be white. And the last one, it's going to be text minus muted this way. So we can now simply change this to 0A, 0A, 0A. Then for the BG surface, it's going to be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then for our stroke color, 1D, 1D, 2, 0. Then for the search BG, 1, 6, 1, 6, 1, 6. Then for our white, we're going to maintain this. And for our gray, it's going to be BA, BA, BA. Or you can use BB, BB, B 6 times if you want it to be more darker than this. So I'm going to close this. If we need anything, we're going to come back here and add the variables. After setting our variables, I'm going to click on the frame icon and then let's add a new frame of MacBook Pro 14 inches. I'm going to drag this. The next thing is to now add a field to this. I'm going to click this icon and we can apply any of this. If your variables are displayed in form of grid, you can click here to display them in form of a list. So I'm going to apply this. The next thing is to hit letter F on your keyboard and then drag to create a frame. So let's quickly add a field to this. The width of this, I'm going to set that to 286. And we can align this to left and let's just increase this to cover the whole dashboard. So we can apply our field to this. To do that, I'm going to click on these 4 dots and apply the same BG. But I want to be able to treat this frame as an individual entity. So I'll just drag this and drop it here. So I'll just quickly drop it on this other side since we're going to be using this as our guide. I'm going to add all these icons and then we can start creating our designs. So I'll hit the action button here and go to plugins. I'm going to search for my NAUI icons. So you see we have this. Click this and it's going to open this icon pack. Now we can search for chat. I'm going to use this as my first icon. So I'll drag this and drop this somewhere here. The next one is payments. I'm just going to search for payments. Then I'll click this one here. Then we have customers. So we can search for users. I'm going to use this. Then we have messages. I'm just going to type messages. Here, that's the wrong spelling, message, and we can use this here. Instead of product, I'll search for shop, grab this. So instead of invoice, I'll search for file, I'll use this. So we can search analytics, we can use chat for that. I'll pick the first one. Then for automation, yes, we can use automation, we can use this AR icon. Then we also have 2 other icons here. That's the settings. So this is, we can use cog for that. I'm going to pick this icon and use this. Then the last one, which is help. So we can use support for that, which is this. And one other thing I want us to add here is the search icon. So we can look for search, and I'll also add that here. So for this, our items, let me just drag them somewhere here, and let's do this. I just want to select everything here. Just make sure you're not touching the dark background. So we have these are items. Let me select all these other one and then put them here like in form of 3 columns. So now I can highlight and select everything here, and let's lock this size here and change everything to 20 by 20. After changing this, the stroke size here, it's thick. So this icon pack allows us to change this. Instead of 1.5, I can change this to 1. So I'll do the same thing for this. Select this, change that to 1 instead of 1.5. But you also have to change the outer one for some icons. So I'll change this to 1. This is going to match this current size that we've reduced this. So this is going to be 1. This is going to be 1. But if you check the inner, we also need to change that to 1. So now after changing everything in this way, we can click and then drag to select everything. So we can now create multiple components. This is going to create individual components for these items, and we can press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So we get this. So now I can just set the spacing between them to, and this is looking good. So I can adjust this manually like this. So we have 3 columns of our items. So we can now start creating these are link items. So I'll drag this somewhere here, and we have these are link item. So I'll hit the asset button here, and let's drag the overview icon. Hit letter T on your keyboard and add overview. So now we're going to change the font size of this to 14, and then the line height to 22. So I'll select item 1 and 2 by holding Shift, press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. The spacing between them, I'm going to set that to 8. And for this our item, if you look at this here, we have a counter. So I'm going to create this item as an individual component. So I'll hit letter T on my keyboard and add 2. So let's zoom in. This 2, I'm going to change the font size to 8. And then the line height, I'm going to use 12. For now, we can hit Shift A to put that in an auto layout. I'm going to change the width to 16, and we're going to change the height as well to 16. So you look at this 2 is not aligned properly, and on our frame, this is aligned properly. So I'm going to select 2 and go to width. So instead of fixed, I'll change that to hug content. So this is now aligned. I can hit the fill button, the plus sign here, to add a fill to this. And we can change the corner radius to 4. We can hit the plus sign here to add a stroke, and we can also change the stroke color to stroke. Then for the fill, we can change that to BG surface. And don't worry about this too. When I select this, we can then change the fill to white like this. So now we can rename this to badge. After that, we can convert this to a component by clicking on this icon. So we can add a property, double click to select number 2, and then click on this icon and then the plus sign to create counter. Here, press enter, and this has its own property. On the left hand side, I can click and drag this badge from my asset. Make sure you're selecting the asset. So I can then select item 1, which is this new item, hold Shift to select this item 2, press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. Make sure that they are aligned to center. After that, we're going to change the width of this to 240. And you can get something like this, but we want this to be at the end. So for the spacing between them, we can change that to auto. So let's drag this item here to where we can see this properly. So we now have our link item. We can simply convert this or rename this to link. So for the height of this, I'm going to change that to 36. And then for the spacing on the left and right, we can change that to 12. After doing this, we can easily convert this to a component. But let's change this because the colors are white. I'm going to select these two items, scroll to where we have selection color and change that to white. Don't worry about the visibility of this. Let's select this and convert this to a component. Now, for this our item, we want this to be optional, just like every other item here. The one with the counter is the message. So to do that now, I will go to appearance and click on this icon. So then hit the plus sign here. You see we have show badge. By default, it should be false. So we can hit this to create a property. In case you get any weird action, don't worry about this. We can then select this our item, and instead of hug content, I can click this and make this fill container. So this is going to maintain the size even if that other item, that's the badge, is not here. So then we can select this again and add another property. Double click to select the overview. Scroll up where we have the overview, click on this icon and then hit the plus sign here to create title. You can then click on the create property. So the last property we need to add here is this icon. So make sure you're selecting this. At the top here, we can hit this and then create icon. Then create a property for this. So now we have our component with all the necessary properties. So we can then hit this plus sign here to create a variant for this. For this variant, we can now do one thing here. Let's hit the plus sign to add the fill, and let's quickly change the fill to our BG surface. After changing that, the margin or the corner radius, we're going to change that to 4. So for this item, if you select this, you can go to the right hand side and change this to active instead of variant 2. We can set that to active. So now I can come in here and look for links, grab this and then drop this here. If I align this to center, you see we have our first link. But for this link now, if we want to compare this to this, it's active. So you can select this and change this to active from default to active. If I zoom in, you see we have our active link. So let me select this, Command D to duplicate this, drag this, and let's change this to the default link here. So on the second item here, it's payment. So we can just simply change that to payment. You can say payments, press enter, and we can change the icons as well. So let's look for the card icon. So you see we have this our item. So I can select this, Command D to duplicate, drag this here, Command D, 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 D again. So we can simply start changing the names of this links item. So the third one here, it's going to be customers. And we can change the icon here to users. The fourth one is messages. Let's use messages here. Press enter. And then if I select this item here, I will change this to messages. So this other one here, it's going to be products. I'll press enter. So the other one here, I'll select this. Let's change the icon here. Before I forget, this is going to be the shopping cart. So this other one, it's going to be invoice. And then we're going to change the icon to invoice. That's the file. So if I hit this, we can change this to analytics. Hit enter and we can change the icon here to this analytics here, chat. Last one, automation. Press enter and we can change this to AR. Let's see, we have the AR here for the automation. So that's for this item. Command D and I'll drag this to create settings and support settings. So here, let me fix the spelling. Settings. So if I zoom in here, we can select the appropriate icon. That's the cog. So if you notice, this other center part is missing. So I'll double click to make sure I'm selecting this and I'll change that to white. If we come back in here, I can select this again, Command D to duplicate this. and we can change this to help, and this is going to be support, and I'll select item 1 and 2, shift A to put them in an auto layout, then the spacing between them 0, drag it somewhere here. So I'm going to align this. So the spacing on the left and right should be 23. So I'm going to drag this, not this, I'm going to drag this item here. Make sure that this spacing where it's showing 17, it should be 24. So I'll push it. So one last time, hold shift, you see it's 24. That's the one at the bottom. So this other item as well, we can select item 1, select just everything. Shift A to put them in an auto layout, but this time make sure that the spacing between them is 14. After changing that to 14, for our messages, you remember we have this counter. We can then select this. Where we have the show badge, I can now turn that on. You see we have our counter. And if you double click, let's say we want to change that to 4, because this is an independent component on its own. You see it have its own property. When you select this, I can just simply change that to whatever value I want. If you double click, we can say this is like 400, and you have this 400 here, but it's designed with a fixed width, so we're using, let's say 40 for that, and it should fit in perfectly just like this. After having this, now we can now try to add our logo. I will hit letter T on my keyboard and add, let's say Wise, like this. Then I'll convert that to, I'll use 22. Let me just type that 22. And this, we can use this extra bold for this. And for the line height, I'm going to use 28 for that. So we have our logo here. You can decide to use that with lowercase or uppercase. If you have any icon, you can attach it to that. So the last thing we want to add here is the search icon or search bar. I'm going to select this, Command D to duplicate this. So once you select this overview at the top, I'm going to bring the icon back. So for our counter, I'll select this and I'll add the /. And after that, we can then change our icon. That's for this property, the icon, we can change that to search. I believe we should have that here, search. Then for overview, it's going to be search. So after changing this, we can then select this item, right click, and then detach this item. So let's make our changes here. For this, our white color, I'll select this. Where we have white, we can just use text muted. The same thing for the icon, text muted for the white. Then for this, our item here, all we need to do is to change that, the fill to stroke. So we have this for our search bar. So I can make sure that this item here, if it's aligned to these other links, that's fine. But make sure that the spacing at the top, hold Alt or Option on Mac, make sure it's 24 instead of 16. So I'll just push this down and then check this. So 1, 2, hold Option or Alt to check, that's 24. So this is great. So we now have our sidebar. So the next thing we want to do is to select this item here, rename that to sidebar, and I can convert that to a component. Once it has been converted to a component, on the left hand side, that's on your asset, you can just drag this and drop it here. So I'm going to align this to left and then align that to center. So you see we have our clean looking navbar. The next thing we're going to add here is the second section, which is this here. So now I'm going to hit F on my keyboard to add a frame. After that, we can add a fill to this and add a stroke. So for the stroke, I'm just going to use a red color because I want us to see everything I'm adding, red color. So the next thing is, let's say I'm removing this fill for now, or let's change the fill to our normal BG so that the red is going to be visible. So I'm going to select this and change the height to 1202. So this should be in such a way that it is touching this, our sidebar, so that we can get 24 here. I've done the calculation, 24. So if you want to align this, you make sure that this is also 24 at the top here. So if I hold Option or Alt, 1, 2, hold Option or Alt, we have 24 at the top. So, but here it should be touching this side here. That's the sidebar. Now we can convert our corner radius to 24, but we only want this at the top. So click on this icon where we have the appearance here. We want to change this to 0. That's bottom left, and then bottom right to 0 as well. So this is how it's going to look. Now select this item. Let's change our stroke color here to stroke, and let's drag this to the extreme here. So you can even pass this section. So if I zoom in now, you see this is how our design looks, and this looks very clean, and we can treat this as an independent element by just dragging this outside, so we can just get more flexibility to design the content of this section. Now I'll quickly select this image and drag it somewhere here so we can see what we want to create. So the first thing is to create this header section. So what I'm going to do is to add another frame again. So I'll press F on my keyboard and drag this. We can fill that with white as usual. So let's make the width to be 1202. So the same with this, it should cover everywhere. So now we have this. You can just make sure you're using this to align this, your item, to center. So once you're having this, which is a frame, let me click to the files so we can see it's a frame. So let me just name this to heading or header. So now we can add a stroke, and this stroke is going to be our color here, which is a stroke color. But we want this to only be at the bottom. So let me just change the background color of this now to our normal BG color. So you'll see. So here, this is going to be our BG color. So now we have our stroke, and let me zoom in. We want this to be only at the bottom here. So I'm going to use this and change this to only bottom. So now this stroke, now if I close this, you see we have this design. There is a stroke around this item, and then it goes around here, and this is just at the bottom. So we can now set the size of this. So for the height, that's for the header. You see I'm selecting the header. For the height, I want this to be 64. That is the height I want for this. Then we can now add the text here, which is dashboard. This I want to be 22. So I can set that here. It's my items. So the next thing is to now create this other sections here, which is this buttons that we're having here with some lightening effect. So I'm going to now go back to our design here. Let's add some few icons. That's these 3 other icons. So I'm going to search for, let's say, bell. So I'm going to drag one of this bell. So this is my option here, notification. So let me just click this so I don't spend time dragging bell. Then we need, let's say, lights. So I'm going to drag this and drop. So the next thing we need here, it's this other item here. So I'll just click this. So we have, these are items. So these are all good. So I'm going to select all these items. As usual, I can just resize them to 20. So, but we can keep the 24. Let me make sure I'm changing this also to 20. So let's lock this. So now we can select this and create a multiple component. So to do that, I'm going to select the create multiple components. For this icons, I'll press Command X to cut them. Remember, we already have some list of our icons here. So I'm going to select this, Command V to paste this. They are automatically going to arrange themselves inside this collections. So this looks great. And we can then come in to create our components. That's this buttons here. So the first thing I want to do is to press the add set, click on this, and let's drag one of this. So I'm dragging this moon solid here. So I'm going to apply the color here. That's for the white. I'm just going to change this to white here. So I'm going to press Shift A to put that in an auto layout. So I'm going to make sure that this is 38 by 38. So let's try to drop some values here. 1 here and 1 here. So I have 38 by 38. On a very good day, I prefer to just change it directly instead of using this. We're going to convert this. Since it's 38, let's just make this 40 so that we can have a rounded border radius. So I'm going to add a few. So that's the corner radius. But for this particular color here, I want to use 1919, then 1D for this here. That's the color I want to use. So the next thing is to then add the lightening effect on this. So to do that, I'm going to press O to create an ellipse. So this, let's say this is 16 by 16, and let's change this to gradient. So for the gradient, let's say I'll make this white, and let's make this the default D6, D6, D6. It's a gray color. So once we have this for the white, this looks great. So we can change this from linear to radial like this. And there is no need to do much here. Let's just drag this a little bit here. So we can add an effect to this. So for this effect, we're going to use the layer blur. So for this, I'm going to make sure that this layer blur is 16. Don't worry about that. I'm going to drag this and then drop this inside this our design. But this is an auto layout. So I need to make sure that this, let's just add a position to this here. So I'm adding a position, that's an absolute position, so that I can move this around here. So let's go to files, and I'll make sure I'm tracking this design here. So for this, my star, okay, this ellipse is where it's supposed to be. We need to push this somewhere at the top. So let's zoom in and push this. We just need that lightening effect, not too much on this. So you see, we have this lightening effect. If you want it more than this, you can just try to push it somewhere here. And one way to control this effect is if we can add a stroke to this item. Let's see, let's add a stroke to this. So the lightening effect is going to be better with a stroke. So let's try to do this. And you see, we have this. So I can come in here, the stroke, it should be outside. Let's make that outside here. Good. So now I can select this again. That's my ellipse. And one thing, I can reduce the opacity here if I don't want the lighting to be too much. So we can push this, and you can also adjust the size of this. So this is going to give you this lightening effect that we are having here. So if one of this is not enough, so let's select back the shape. You can command D here and also add it at the bottom here. We can add that at the bottom here just to create that effect. So now we have this item. So I can select this, and let me push this at the bottom because I don't want that much here. So now we can select this and convert this to a component. So this is going to be a rounded BTN, So for this, we can just add one property to this. So I'm selecting this, click, and we can add icon for this. And this is our rounded BTN. So the first thing we need, we can add this. So let's select this. We can have our rounded BTN. Let's see, rounded BTN. We should have this. So this is the first instance here. So let's select this here. And I think something is missing because I noticed that these are visible outside. So make sure we're clipping these items, the content here. So I think that is the whole issue there. And this is much better after clipping them outside. It was initially like this. So clipping them, you see, it's just everything just stay within this component here. So which gives us a better design. Let's see if that's, okay, I think this one here, because there's a stroke outside, we can hide our stroke for now. So let's hide this stroke here. I'm going to use this, detach this item, and or delete this completely, so we can have or manage this now like this without the stroke. So having this is our first item. So I can command D to duplicate this here. So but for this item here, I think we need to add another state. That's for this empty state here. We need another type of this or a variation of this without a background. So I'm going to select this and come here and add a variant to this. So this is going to be inactive. inactive, like this. So for the inactive, it has no background color, and it has this items here. That's for the variant 2. Now this is going to be missing, as well as this is going to be missing. So all we know, we have this item right here. So if I select this item, all I need to do is to make sure I'm changing this to inactive, because we want to create the toggle button. That's this. So I'll select item 1 and item 2, press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So the first thing I want to add here is a stroke, and we're going to use our stroke color. So we can use our stroke color. So here for the spacing between them, let's keep that to 2 for now. And let's see how this is going to look. Spacing at the top, let's see how 2 it's going to look. Left and right, let's see 2. And this is already looking great. So we can make sure that this is rounded. So let's make this 45, or we can make that 50, the amount you want. So we have our design like this. So the next thing is to select this and change the icon of this. So this, I'm going to select this. Okay, this is our icon. So we're looking for sunlight here. So we have our icon here. So we can select this and change this to toggle button, and we can just add some little animation to this. So here we can decide to now fill this our item. I want to fill the whole toggle button. So let me fill that here. So fill, let me change the color of the fill to our BG. Then we have something like this, and I need the stroke to be visible. Yes, they are visible. So this looks clean. So we want the user to be able to toggle between these two items. So we can select this and convert this to a component. And once you do that, you can add a variant for this. That's for our toggle bar. So on this second variant now, we can then select this and make sure that this is the default and this is the inactive here. So we have this toggle button here, but to bring this to life, we're going to make sure that we're adding some prototype into this. So let's switch on the prototype mode, and for this, if you click this icon here, it should bring you to this component here. And on this, if you click on this icon here, it should bring you to this component here. This is just some little effect that we're adding to this item so that the user can be able to toggle between the two items. I can come in here and add our toggle button. So let me search for toggle. So we can drag this and drop it in here. So once we have this, you see our design, it's already coming to life. So the next item we need is the notification. So I'm just going to look for the rounded button, and I'll drag this and drop this here. That's for our rounded button. So the next thing, we can switch back to design and change the icon. So the icon for this, I'm going to use the bell or notification, which is this. So we have this. So we can, by this time now, I can just select this and let's detach this instance. So right click and detach this because we want to modify this. So we can detach. Once you detach this, I can press O or on my keyboard to add an ellipse inside this. Don't worry about this. We are just going to make sure we're changing this position here. So you can hold shift and then try to push this item. We want it to be somewhere at the top here. So for this now, I think one solution for this is to right click and then frame this selection. Let's frame this. So now I'm going to select this ellipse, Command X, then select this item. We're now selecting the frame, not the auto layout. So I'll press Command V so that we can easily push this anywhere we want on this. So now we can change the color of this. I don't have any color in mind, but let's just pick just a random red color for this, and I'll close this. So we now have this. I can move this around, and you see our notification is still there. So since we have this, we can play with this, especially with the lightning effect. So let's double click here, and where I have the second ellipse, I can just delete that completely so that it's just going to be a bit different with that. And for our color, instead of using this, I can just pick something off. Let's try using our background color and see BG color. Good. So we have this other effect here, and this is a bit different from what we're having here. So I'll select these two items, press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. Make sure that the spacing between them is 8, and we are done with the heading. So I'm going to select item 1 and this dashboard. Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So one thing I want us to do is we're going to use 1202, which is the exact width of this design. That's this frame. So I'm going to show you why. So I'm going to select this and try to center this here. So this is how our design looks like, but we're using auto layout. So on this end, left and right, we're going to add 24. This is going to make our work easy if we're aligning it that way. So I can center this and center this here. So this is centered, and the spacing here is 24 at the end. Here, let me zoom in and select the inner auto layout. If I hold this, you see this is 24, and at this point this is also 24. We can then move to the second section here and start building the other part of our design. So the next part is to add these buttons here with the dates and this export here. So what I'm going to do is to come back here. I'm going to select the resources. Let's go to plugins, and we're going to still use the My Na UI icons. So I'm going to search for calendar. So I'll make sure I'm picking the same calendar we have here. Okay, I didn't get that, so I'm going to use this instead. So let's see, this is appearing somewhere here. So I'm just going to adjust this. I'm going to look for chevron. That's this drop down. I'm going to select this and make sure I'm dragging this to somewhere here. And what are the icon again? Okay, that's it. So let's look for downloads. So I'm going to select this and drag this here. And this time we can look for an additional one, info. So let's see if we can get that. Okay, we have this here. I'll drag this and drop this here. So we have 4 items here. I'll do the same thing we've been doing. Select this. I'm going to close this and make sure that this are all 20 by 20. Then select this 3 dots and let's create multiple components. Once we've done that, we're good to go. I'll press Command X or Control X to cut this. We already have our icon groups here, so I can select this at Command V to paste. You see, we have our icons well arranged. So we can come back in here and let's search for calendar inside calendar. So we can drag this and drop this here. So the first thing we need to add is a text. So I'll press T. So let's say November 21 to, let's say, November 24, like so. So I'll drag this here. I'll make sure that the text size here is 12 pixels, which it is, and then it's regular. So I'll select this to item 1 and item 2, press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. And don't forget, I want to add a chevron. So I'll come here and say chevron. So I'll drag this and drop this inside this as well. So we have the first, second, and then the third item. And I think I also want to adjust the size of this chevron here. We want it to be smaller than this. So I can make this chevron, let's say, let's see how 16 is going to look. Still looks a little bit too big. Okay, 12 looks great. So all that matters is that we make sure that everything is at the center here. Don't do this. Make sure that it's at the center here. So we have our items for the buttons. So now we can add a field to this. I'm going with the traditional BG color, which is our background color. And for the content, which are the black ones, you see 000, I can just select this and make sure we're using the white color for that. For the height, I'll manually just change the height. I'm not playing with the auto layout. I'll change this. And then for the width, I'll go with something around, let's see, let's add the corners here. For the width, let's see how 8 is going to look. And that looks great because I wanted to make this 160, but 8 looks good. So if I should add 1, it's just going to balance everything here. So we have the width set to 160 and then the spacing at the beginning. Okay, this is 9. I don't like that. So let's make that 10 here. So that's an even number. Let's see how 12. Good. So this is better, but the spacing is too much. So I think I'm sticking to 8 here. Sorry about that. So now we can add our stroke to this design. So a plus sign for the stroke and we go with our stroke color. Now we can add our corner radius for this and I'll set this to, let's see how 8 is going to look. That's too much, so I'll set that to 4 so that it matches whatever we are having here. So it's now time to do due diligence to this. So for the stroke size here, I'll come back to our icon packed here. Let's see this. For my calendar, I'll make sure I'm selecting this, double click till you're selecting the whole item. Let's change the stroke size here to 1. I'll do the same thing for this info, double click. Let's see, we have 1. I'll change this. So I'll select the outer one. I'll make that 1 as well. And we're going to do the same thing for the downloads. I'll change that to 1. I think for this, we have a stroke count. Yes, we can, let's see, 1 looks okay. But it might look too slim for that. So, but yeah, that looks great. So this is our design and it looks better. So let's convert this to components. So I'll click this to convert this to a component. So this is going to be our BTN small SM. That stands. So I'm going to select this. And the first thing to do is to create a property for this. So this is going to be prefix icon. We have the prefix icon, then press enter to create that. I'm going to select this other last icon. Again, do the same thing, create property. So this is going to be suffix at the end icon. So we can create this property. And this other one again, I can then do the same thing. I'll create this is going to be a text. So it's going to be label or anything, title. So we want these 2 items to be optional. That's these 2 icons. Even the text, we also want that to be optional. So I'm going to select this. So let's go to appearance. So add a new settings, show calendar. So it's going to be show prefix icon. So by default, yes, let's just set that to true. And for this other one again, I can select this. We go to appearance, add a new one. This is going to be show. This is going to be suffix icon. By default, let's set that to false, so that's not going to be visible. So we have that and then it's no longer there. So for this, I think we've added a label to that. So we can start working on this part of our design. And let me click this. So let's add this parts here. So we can come back in here. I'll add my, let's look for BTN small. Drag this and drop this somewhere here. So we're going to zoom in. Let's see this. So once I've zoomed in, all we need for this, we have this item, and I think these colors here are too bright for our text. So what we are going to do is to now come in here. Let's see how our okay, I don't recommend using the stroke color. So let's come in here, select the whole component. Where we have the white, I'm going to detach that. So let's use let's see, BA. Let's see. Okay, this is it. So we have to find a way to add that to our color variable. So this looks better than the white color. Was looking too bright. So after adding this, I'm going to select this, and I think that's good for this. We need this other part here, which is the monthly. So I can press Command D to duplicate this. So here I will set the property here. This is going to be monthly. So show suffix and the prefix, we hide prefix here. So we have this design here. But at this point, there are some small issues here. So all I can do is to create a variant for this our design. So the variant is going to be, let's add a new variant. It's going to be without the corner radius. I'll set that to 0. Then after that, we can go ahead and remove the, what else do we need to remove? The stroke. So stroke, we're going to minus this stroke here. So I think that's good. So for this variant, what are we going to name this? So let's say no stroke for this. So by the time we've added that variant, that's what we want for these two items. So I'm going to select item 1 and item 2. So this is no stroke. So they are all empty now. So I'm going to select these two items, press Shift A to put them in an auto layout, and make sure that the spacing between them is 0. So now the parent can now have the stroke. So once I add that, we can now change the stroke color, to our stroke color. So let me select this here and make sure that this is outside. So that's visible. It was initially inside. So this corner radius is going to be 4. And I'll select this individual item. That's this first button. If I should zoom in, notice what is happening here. That's this excess here. For this item, we want to change the corner radius. So to do that, I'm going to look for the section that's handling that. So I'm going to change that on the right hand side. So let's say this is 4, and at the bottom here this is 4 as well. So we can select this item again and add stroke to this. So I'm going to use the plus sign, but for this stroke I want this to be this color here. That's our stroke color. So but I want to select where it should appear, so I'll change this corner radius to 0. And we only want the stroke at the left side of this. So this is going to give us this design. So but for this other part, you notice we are having the same issue as that. So I'm going to select this other parts. Make sure you're selecting this single item. So at the end here, I'm going to select this corner radius. So at the end, we can have our 4, and I can set this to 4 here. So if I zoom in, you see it has disappeared and we have our button group. So you can decide to convert this to a component, but for this, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to select this other item. For our BTN small again, I'll drag that here, and we can change this to export. That's more like downloads, and I will change the icon here to download like this. So we have this like so. So we can now group these two items together, item 1 and item 2. Shift A to put them in an auto layout, and don't forget we're going to use the width 1202 here. So align this to center, and it's going to cover everything here and here. So let's see this, the spacing between them. Let's make sure that it's auto. So I'll set that to auto, so we have our export here. So now the left and right, make sure you're adding the space 20 on the left and the right, so that it's going to match whatever we are having here. So the spacing between them, I think we can keep, I can hold this, make sure I'm selecting this group, press shift, or sorry, option, and let's see the spacing between these two items is 16 here. That's between these two items. So I'll just press 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I hold this, the spacing between them should be 20. So now that's the spacing between our items. So we have this section of our design. So the next part is to now create these items here. So we already have most of the things we need. So all I need to do, I'm going to use a frame for this. So I'll press F on the keyboard And the measurement I'm going to use is around 372 by 130. So here the color is going to be BG surface, and this is going to have a stroke color of a stroke. And the corner radius, I'm going to set that to 4. And let's make that much bigger because that's for BTN small. This is 8. And we can now add the content of this. So we're already using the rounded BTN for this design. So I can drag this and drop this somewhere here. So, but the only thing we want to add or modify here is the size of this item. So instead of this, we can use 48 by 48 for this here. And for the icon size, fill container. So this is actually filling our container, and this looks good. So we can now add our title, which is a total revenue. So I'll press T on my keyboard. This is going to be total revenue, like so. Then we can make sure that the size of this is set to 18. Actually, there's a font I want to use in mind for this, Open Sans. I think this should be a free font. It looks better than this other one we've been using. So for this, I'm going to make sure that this is 24. And we can duplicate this, Command D, bring it down here, and I'll make sure that the text here is set to 24, and this can take in, let's see, semi-bold, and this is going to be a $sign 400, and let's say something 1,000 like this. That's for this section. And we have one last item to add. That's the info icon. So I can grab this and drag this somewhere here. So for this, we can use our white color. Let's see if it's okay. Let's use our gray color. So I will come back where we have this black. I can use BA. So we have this gray color for this, but I still think the white would have been better. So I'm going to select these two items. First, press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So once we have this item here, we can adjust the spacing between them. So this, I'm going to set that to 12. And with this item 1 and item 2, Shift A, put them in an auto layout. And at this point, I'm going to use the same width with this, which is 300 and 372 here for this. Just cover everywhere. So we can use this to center this item. So we have the first item and we have this other item here. So this is the first group. Hold Shift and select this other item. We can press Shift A to put that in an auto layout as well. So they are properly aligned now. So all we need to do is to now give them spacing inside, because this is an auto layout. And the good thing with the auto layout is that we can also play with this side and then give this 130 so it fills up everywhere. So I'm going to align this to center like this. So we can now control the spacing. So here, let's say we're giving this 14. So spacing on the left and right, let's see how 24 is going to look. That looks too big. So let's try 18. Looks great. So at the top and bottom, let's see how 18 is going to look as well. So this looks great, but for this particular group, I want to make sure that this info is at the top. So I'll select that group in particular, and then I'll make sure the alignment is starting from the top. So now we have our widget, and it's actually looking great, and we can add more spacing to this item, especially the auto layout. So make sure you select that auto layout. Let me make sure I'm selecting the auto layout here. So we should have our property. So this 18, let's see how it's going to look if we make that to 20. So that looks great. So we can then convert this to a component. So select this and let's change this to widget. So for our widgets, I'm going to add some properties. So select the widget and convert that to a frame first. So I'm going to select this here. This is going to be our first text property. So here, this is going to be a new property called title or whatever. I'm going to select this. Make sure I'm selecting this particular text here. Get that. This is going to be another property called amounts. So we can create this property here. So widget or property do we want to change? I think this itself, it's a component, so there's no need to adjust that. So this is great. For our widgets now, I can arrange them inside these are contents. The first is to come in here in our assets, type in widgets, and I can drag this here, that this is our first widget. So let's zoom in and see. So I can have this. So Command D to duplicate this here, and Command D again to duplicate this. So for total revenue, we have total customer. So this is going to be total customers. Then we can have like total product here, total products. So good. So I can change the value here. Let's just play with this so that it looks good. 4,000, let's say something like this. And this, let's just say total customer. That shouldn't be a price. Let's say we have this number of customers like this, total customers. Okay, this is great. So now let's change the icons. So the first thing here is to select this item itself, because this is a component. So where we have the moon, I'm going to search for users. So we can add this users, but this comes with some little problem here, and don't worry about that. Let's see how we can fix it. So I'm going to double click till I'm selecting this icon here. So where we have the white here, I'm going to detach it. That's the first thing I want to do. So for the white, I'll detach it. Make sure that this is just 0%, and this I'll FFF. Just make sure that it's white. So this is going to solve that particular problem. So this, we're going to do that with the product. So we're going to change this. Make sure you're selecting this item. Scroll up. Let's look for shopping cart. And we don't want this shopping cart to have a fill color. So double click to select this. Where we have the white here, we're going to detach that. The white should be 0, and this should be FFF. And this is good. So we just have one icon left, which is a $sign, and we need to add that. So we can click on this, search for the $sign. So let's search for $1. So this is the one that was in use. So I'll drag that outside here. Make sure that this is 20. Convert that to a component, and it's just a normal drill. So we can come back and use it in here. So if I select this item here, we can come back and let's look for a $1 bill. Dollar, not a $1 bill, sorry. So just $. So scroll down, or make sure you're selecting this first. And where we have the black, or we detach this first. Where we have the white, we change that to 0%. And where we have the black, we change it to white, like so. So we have this, our section of our dashboard. So all you need to do is to select these items, Shift A to put them in an auto layout. You remember our drills. Make sure that the width here is 1202. So align this to center, and you can then add this item should be auto. That's the spacing between them, auto, or you can set that to 20. So let's set that to 20, and this is good now. So I'm going to align this here to center. So the spacing now, I'm setting that to 20, and this we can make that 24. But don't forget one thing, just make sure that this is aligned to center. So now you see these are automatically aligned using the auto layout. So I'm going to make sure that the spacing between this and this is 20. So I'll just push this up a little. Let's push this up. This is 20. If you hold Option, you see that this is 20 and this is looking good. So the next part we're going to deal with is this chat section. Let me close this. So we can now add the chat section. If you, let's say, copy this, let's say we can say dashboard main. Let me just grab this, Command C to copy this, and we try to paste this inside this our design here. Let's just try to align this with this our item so that you see how it's going to look. So let's make sure that these two items are touching each other like so. the spacing at the top here should be 20. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It should be 24. And then the spacing here at the end should be 24. You see, this is looking great. If we select this item and go to prototype, let's just select a device for this MacBook 14 inches. Select this and try to open this in a preview. You see, our dashboard is already looking great. If you're still watching this video and you're not subscribed, please kindly hit the subscribe button. So the next thing we want to do is to create this other section here. So I can maybe continue the design in here, or we can use here, whichever you choose to. So now I'll hit F on my keyboard and drag this. So I'll go back to design, and I'm going to set the width of this to 684, like so. And for the height, I'm going to use 422. And we can add our stroke as usual, add a fill, add a stroke, and change the color of the fill as well as the stroke to our stroke color. And we can change the corner radius here to 8. And we have this other section here. So, but for our BG, I think I'm in the wrong, so let me change this to BG surface. So we have this that is going to match this our design here. So let's see, this our item here. I think we need to do justice to this. So I'm going to select this text. We want to make this optional. So select this icon here to select matching layers. So once we select this, we can now go to appearance. Then here, we are going to add a new appearance here, show label, like so. And by default, it should be true. So this time, this is what we want to create. We want to create this other section of our text. So where we have this icon here, growth and whatever. So this time now, if I should search for, let's say BTN SM, we can drag this. And so let's say here, I want to do some things here for this item. Prefix icon, we want to keep the prefix. Show label, I want to hide this. And we can get this design like so, something like this. And we can use this instead of recreating this other design. So I just need to be sure that we're using the stroke. So here we have the stroke. So we have utilized this particular design not to recreate this other one. So I'm going to add growth revenue charts, something like that. So T here, this is going to be growth revenue charts, like so. And for the size of this, I want this to be 16 pixels and medium if possible. So let's see how medium is going to look. Not too bad. Let's see if it's the same thing that was used in here. So medium, that's good. So we have this item. So the next thing is to now add a description at the bottom. So add letter T, said info for, let's see, previous week results, like this. So now this time I'm going to set this to 12, and the color, I'm going back to our BA. So I can now select this at ease, and then we can just add this text muted. We can do this for these other items here. That's especially this section here, because we are using the same text muted. So instead of BA, we can just select the whole of this. Check where we have BA, and then we can apply this. But it's going to be easier if we select matching layers. Then we can find that BA and change that to text muted, and that is good now. So here we have text muted. So these two items, I'm going to group them. That's item 1 and this, Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So after that, let's look at the spacing between them. It's 12 looks okay, so I'll make that 12. So for this, I also want to group these items together. Shift A to put them in an auto layout, and the spacing between them, I'll just push that a little here. So let's see, 4 looks great, not bad. So this is going to be our titles for all of this because we have something similar here, we have something similar here, and as well here and here. So we just need to add some properties. So for this, we can convert this to a component. So this is going to be our title. So I'm going to double click, make sure you're selecting this text. This is going to be our title, like so, and this is going to be our description. I'm going to add that, create a new variable. This is going to be our disk, like this, for description. And we have this section, and we can start using this. Here I can go back to our design now and then add that. So we can search for title, and we can drag this and drop this here. And I want to make sure that the color of this is white. That's for our revenue. So I can come back and say where we have this, I'm going to make sure that the color here is white. And we can grab this component and then bring it somewhere closer so I can see this. So in case I want to make any modification, we have that. So we have this section here, and let's look at the background color for this, our design here. For this one, that's personally here, I can select this and make sure that instead of this BG, I can just change that to BG surface. That's for this particular item here. So this looks okay. Now we can add other items like the filter and this reload or refresh button. So we can come back in here, still on BTN small. We can come back here, BTN small, make sure you're on assets. We can drag this here, and this time we're looking for filter. So this, we can maintain this. This is going to be filter, and we need to add the icon. So we are looking for two other icons. So the filter, so let's click this and search this filter. Let's see, filter. Great. I'm going to drag this and drop this somewhere here. So I think we already have an icon that was not added earlier, filter. So we have refresh. So that is going to be reload, something like this. Let's see the exact one that was used for this. Reload. Okay, this was used, so I'll select this. Where's this icon? So I'll drag that and drop it somewhere here. So we have our two icons that we need. So let's see if there's any other item we need here. Okay, all other icon, we need this other one here, which is the connect. So let's search for connect. Let's see, do we have that here? We don't. So let's search for link something together. Do we have that? We don't. So I might not spend much time looking for that, but let's just grab one of this and drop that there in case we can find the exact icon that was used there. So I'm going to drag this. So we have our icons here. I'll select these items, 1, 2. These are the 3 items I've added. So let's lock them and convert the sizes to 20, and we can then select the 3 dots and create multiple components. Once you've done that, I think we're good. So I'll hold shift and select this other one here. That's the 4th one. Command X or Control X to cut this. We already have our icon group here, so we can select this and Command V to paste, and we have them aligned. So one thing I want us to check is the stroke size of this. So we make sure that this is 1, and also make sure that the outer one here is 1. So for this, I don't think we have to change anything. So let's do the same for this here, 1, and double click for this here. It's going to be 1. So great. We can then go back and add the refresh button. So here, let me close this. I think that's enough. So for the filter here, I can select this and then choose an icon. Let's search for the filter icon. So I have the filter icon here. I'm just going to click that, and we have this. So the next thing I want to do is to make sure I'm changing this background color to BG surface. So once we have this is great. So now I'm going to select this item, Command D to duplicate this item, so we can scroll down. Okay, scroll to the top and then change the icon. So I'm going to click this. That's the prefix icon. We need to add the refresh icon, which is this. And I noticed something for the refresh icon. One of this, I think it was not changed. So we need to go to the icon section. Let's see if it's coming from here. Yes, it's actually coming from this end. So I have to double click here and make sure that this is 1. So now this is great. And I think this at the head here needs to be 1. And let's see, this also needs to be 1. Okay, I think it's 1. So let's see for this. This needs to be 1. Okay, so that's great. It is fixed. So we can come back in here and do justice to this. So I'll have to make sure that for this, our stroke colors, let me select this, not the stroke color. This is what I'm dealing with at the moment. So where we have the black, we can change that to our text muted, like so. And we have this. So for the filter here, we can just hide that show suffix. Okay, is it having that property? Okay, show label, that's the property here. So we can hide that actually. So now we can select these two items, 1 and 2, Shift A, put them in an auto layout. Let's say this is 12, and we have our first row. Okay, I think I have an extra duplicate of this. I'm going to take that away, which is actually not good for our design. So we have item 1 and item 2. Press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So we're going to use the width for this the way we've been using. So I'm going to make sure that this is 682. So now I can align that to center here. Make sure that at the top, somewhere, not at the center, sorry, somewhere at the top here. So we can then push this to make sure get a good spacing. So I'm going to check the spacing we use for this item actually. So let's check the parent component, which is this here. Inside, I'm going to double click again. We have on the left and right, we have 20. That's what we are having here, 20 for the left and right. So that's our inner item here. So for this, we're going to set that to 20. That's left and right, 20. So that is going to match the content of this design. So top and bottom, I'm going to set that to 18, something like this. And we can make sure that this is attached to the top somewhere here. So if I click now, you see your design is looking great. So, but for this now, if this is 20, I think I want this to be 20 as well. That's instead of doing the same thing, I want this to be 20 as well, so that this is going to look perfectly balanced inside. So that's for our heading. So the next thing is to add our charts. But before we do that, I just want us to adjust something here. Instead of putting this at the center, this should be aligned to the top here, so that this icon is on the same line, maintaining this top structure here. It shouldn't be at the center. So that's great. So we need to create our charts. So now let's add the text by the side here. I'm going to press letter T, and let's see the last thing here. It's 6K. So let's say we are having 6K here. And for the text, we can use the muted. So text muted for that. That's great. And I'm going to drag this and drop this somewhere here. So the next thing I want to do is to use the pen tool. So I'm going to click this and I'll drag this from here. Hold Shift so that you can get a straight line to somewhere here. So once you're done, you can use this button here, so we can cancel that. So if you want to be sure that this is aligned to this other section, you can use this icon here, go to views and make sure your ruler is checked. Once the ruler is checked, you can then click here and drag this to have something like this. So now we know that we need to adjust this width. So I'll select this, hold Shift please, then drag and make sure that this is aligned to this. So we know that this is aligned with our item here at the top. So I'm going to select this and then go back to this other section here. So I'm going to click on the same item and we can hold Shift and drag this a little here. So this time I'm going to go to settings and make sure that this is dotted, And for the dots, we can let's say 8. Is 8 too much? Yeah, it looks much for me, so I'll reduce that to 6. But let's change the color first. So I'm going to use the stroke for this because I don't want this too light, but this should be okay. So I'm going to select item 1 and item 2. Press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So I'm going to make sure that this is at the center of this text. That's the 6K. I'm going to select this and make sure that the line height is even. So we can make this, let's say 18, like so. So now this is even. So this is going to be our item. So now if you want to use our design so far, you can make sure that you're having the same height, which is 6, like this. This is 682, 682, okay, 682, like so. So we can align this to center. For our margin now, we can then set this to, let's see, the margin we use here, 20. So I can select this and set our margin on left and right to 20, and you will get this, which looks perfect. So then we can duplicate this and create other items. So if I press Command D and I drag this down here, I can create maybe 4K, 5K, and the rest. So let's see, 5K, 4K, 3K, 2K, and 0K. So this is going to be 5K. I'm going to do the same. Command D. Sorry, I have to select everything. Command D, drag that here. Command D, D, and D. So 5K, 4K, 3K, 2K. Do we have 1K? Okay, then we have 0K here. So let's say we have 1K and yeah, instead of 0K. So this looks great. All we need to do is to select these items now. Item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And make sure that the spacing between them it's the same. So we can use Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So I'll make sure that this is 24. And this looks great. So I can drag this here, just make sure that this is centered. So I can then adjust the items like this so that we can have more spacing. Let's push this down a little. So let's add the months or the weeks. Sorry, I'm going to push this. So I'm going to press letter T here on my keyboard. Monday. And let's make sure we're using the text muted here. Monday. Command D. We can have Tuesday. Command D. I'll just drag this. Command D, 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 and D, D, D. So Tuesday, Wednesday, like so. Thursday. You can have Friday, Sat, and Sun. Like so. So I'm going to take this out. So we can select each of this, hold Shift and select all of this. Then Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So the spacing between them, I'm going to make that 56 here. So we have this spacing between them, and we have our chart. I can just equally just center this item like this, and this looks great. So all we need to do is to now create our bar charts. So I'm going to let's try to adjust this here because I think we're having more spacing here. So I'm going to push this down. So for our bar charts, we're going to create 2 items. Let's see what is missing here. I think I'm missing this online stores, and we just find a way to fix them. All I need to do is to grab these 2 colors. I'll press R on my keyboard. Let me grab this color. That's this, and Command D. I'll grab this other one here. I can Command X here. Let me just keep them somewhere here so that we can use them. Want to use them for our charts. Press R on my keyboard to create a rectangle. So I'll just drag that somewhere here. At this point, we can just lock this because we don't want to touch this again. So I'll make sure I'm locking this. It's locked. So I have my rectangle here. The width of this, I'm going to set that to 18. And the height can be anything of your choice. Let's see, I'll drag this somewhere here. Let's see which one comes first, the blue one, which is online, then the shop sales. So the corner radius, let's see 4. Okay, we're going to use 4 for the corner radius. So let me show you why I added this color. I'm going to copy this, and let's say I'll add this here. This is going to be the blue. I think that's the wrong color. Where did I get that from? Grab this, select this, and I'll paste this here. This is our blue color. For the blue color, what I'm going to do is to make sure that I'm changing this to a gradient. Here, I'm going to select the blue color. We're changing that from solid to gradient. So I'll still copy the same blue color here and then just add that here. Paste that same blue color here. Let me grab this, Command C and Command V here. So we're having the same blue color. But what I'm going to do is this last color here, we're just going to pick somewhere here where we have this light color. So where we have the light color, just pick any of this lighter part for this, but I'll prefer somewhere at the top here, if possible, if you can grab somewhere here. So if we close this, what I'm going to do is, let's click back on the gradient again. We can then adjust this so that it fits in nicely. See, we can do this, and you can just drag this somewhere here so we can have this flow. You can add a third color, which I don't recommend, and you can also try to click and then play with the direction of this the way you want this to be. That is left for you, but then this too, it's okay. You see, we have from top to bottom just showing lighter. Going up, it's a bit more thicker. So I'll do Command D to duplicate this. I'll drag this and drop this somewhere here. So let's see, I'll make this up a little. This goes up to somewhere here. So don't forget, this is our color here. So I'll grab this, I'll copy this, Control C to copy this color. I'm just going to open this and I'll paste this here, and I'll also paste this here. So here we are going to make sure that we're picking a lighter version of this here. Let's just see somewhere here. So I'm going to zoom in and let's go up a little. So for this, I can now drag this and then bring this somewhere up here. So for the darker part, we can just drag that, and we have this. So we have these two items. All you need to do is to select item 1 and item 2, Shift A to put them in an auto layout. Make sure that the spacing between them is 2, and we're good to go. So for Monday, we make sure that it's aligned at the center of Monday. The same with Tuesday, we can just do this, align to Tuesday. All you need to do is to now change the height of these items. So we can say, okay, for this day, this was small, and this was a bit bigger, like this. So, but you need to make sure that they are aligned at the bottom. Select this, and I'll push this here with my button. That's the direction button on my keyboard, because it's now a bit difficult to control that with my mouse. So I'll select this and I'll do the same thing here. I'll drag this here, and once I select this, I'll just use the arrow direction on my keyboard. So Command D, I'll just drag that here, somewhere here. I'll just make sure I cover that for everything before we can take our time to adjust which one we want to be bigger. So I'll select this item 1, 2, and maybe let's keep it here. For now, I don't want it inside there, so let me drop it outside here. So I'm going to grab this item. Let's drag this, make sure one is smaller than the other. Once I have this, so low sales, drag that somewhere here. Grab this here, make sure that this is going up, and I'll just arrange this. So just make sure you're selecting the group, and I'll push this here. So for this here, let's say this one is going up, and this other one here is going down. Here it's going down. So we have this. Then we can do the same thing for this here. This here, there's somewhere, let's say almost the same. Let's say they are almost the same here. Sorry, I have to select this and push this here. I'll do the same. Let's say almost down like this. and down like this. Select the two and push them somewhere here at the bottom. And you can even make this better. Let's say for days, let's say for Sundays, maybe today is Saturday and there's no sales for Sundays. You can try to let's see if we can make this gray. Let's see if we can make that gray, like nothing has happened yet. So 0 0 0, and this one, let's see, we can use 1C 1C 1C. Let's see. Okay, so I need to use a gray color, an actual gray color. Let's use this. Let's say for this day, no sales have been made so far. So for upcoming days, I think I'll just grab this here. What you're going to do, right click, just copy properties here. So copy properties. I can select this, go back the same, and I'll paste this same property. So we have this now for days that are maybe for upcoming days without sales. So we represent them with this. So I'll just align this here. One best way to have done this is to right click here and let's ungroup these items here. Once they are ungrouped, I can select this Shift A to put that in an auto layout. Shift A, auto layout, Shift A, auto layout, Shift A to put them in an auto layout, Shift A, Shift A, Shift A. So now all we need to do is to just make sure that the spacing between them, you see, it should be 32 or the same. Let's see, I'll select everything and make sure that the spacing between them, let's use 32 for now and see. So if it's 32, then we can make sure that they are aligned towards the bottom. So if they are, it's easy because all of them are aligned toward the bottom. It's easy to now align them with this line here. So if I zoom in, you see we can place them on the line here. So, and this is looking great. So we now have our chart, and we just need to add some indicators here to show which is online and then which is offline. To achieve that, I'm just going to add an ellipse. Press O on your keyboard, drag this. I don't want it to be inside this section, so somewhere outside here. I'm going to press I and grab one of this color here. This is our blue. We are going to add a text T here. One is online, letter T is online, and then one is through physical store. So 12, Shift A to put that in an auto layout, and I'll do well to reduce the size of this here to, let's say, 10. And for the auto layouts, we make sure that this is aligned to center. The spacing between them, I think 4 looks okay. So online, Command D, drag that. So I'll just change this to shop. So, and I'll make sure I'm changing the color of this to this other color here. We can zoom in and see. I'll select these two items, Shift A to put them in an auto layout, and the spacing between them, 12, should be great. But I want this to be part of this design, or I think I don't want that, so it should be independent of the design. Okay, so this is great, and if you even want to push it so that you can align that to the bottom text, that's the result, you can actually do that. So we drop that somewhere here. So we're done with this section, and you see how we can actually create this nice gradient, and everything looks good, and you can move this around and you see everything is just within this particular component. So let's quickly start this other section. I'm going to press F on my keyboard to create a frame. This time I'm going to set the fill. Let's add the fill here. We're still using our BG surface, and for the width of this I'm going to use 452, and for the height we're using 422. So we have this design here. So we're going to add all the other properties that we've been adding. That's the stroke, and we're going to change the color to our stroke color. So our corner radius, it's going to remain 8, and I think that's good for now. So let me just adjust this to make sure that it's aligned to the end here. So I want to check the spacing between these two items. I'll select them and then press Shift. You see we have 20 because I've calculated this already. So all we need is this other section here that I can grab this section. Let me say Command C, and I'm going to paste that here. So once I do that, I can just adjust this here, and I will delete one of the icons here. Let's say I'll take this out, and for this it's going to be, let's see what we are having here. This is country, so this is going to be country. I'm going to select this item because it was in an auto layout. You notice our button is inside, so I have to double click to get to that button so that we can access that property. So we're going to show the suffix icon, and I'm going to hide the prefix icon. So where we have our this filter, this is going to be country. I'll press enter. So we have this section done, like so. So the next thing is to change this to customer growth. So let me select this. This is going to be customer growth. Customer, we can just see location. So customer's location, since we're using the map, customer's location, press enter. So for the previous week, and this is looking good already. So I can align this to center, make sure it's this, not this, please, it's at the top here. Now we want to add the map here. So to use the map, let's click on the icon here to go to community, so we can search for Figma map, something like this. Let's see, I've seen Figma, yes, this world map. So I'm going to click this, and we can then select open in Figma. Once this is open, we have the world map, so you can check for Africa, you can check for Europe. We're looking for a map of the world. So let's see. Okay, I can grab this part of the world here. So I'll grab this. So I can press Command C to copy this, and we can go back to our design. So I can press Command V to paste that in here. But you notice that this is too big, so because this is a vector, so we can actually scale down. But before we scale down properly, the first thing I always do if I have a copy of this anywhere, it's to just detach this from the instance. So I'm just going to detach this. So I'm going to select this, and we can drag this here as well. So make sure it's fitting this perfectly. And once this is done, looks good. So we can just make the adjustment we want to make. So here where you have the white, I'm just going to click on this and use our stroke colors. That's for the white there. So let's see, that doesn't look bad. So but we can make some adjustments. Let's try the muted instead of stroke. Let's say text muted. Yeah, still almost the same thing, but then this looks better. So this is our map. Let's see, do we have any other thing added here? Yes, we do. So I have somewhere here we traced this particular section here, that's Nigeria, and just to specify that we have more customers from this region. So all I need to do is to go back to this map. If I go to Africa here, then you can see all the countries in Africa. So let's look for the map of Nigeria. If you're in any of the country, you can just pick that country and then try to resize that. I can't find that here. Let me see, South Africa, Nigeria. So I'll press Ctrl C to copy this. So let's come back to our design. So this is what I want to do. I want to select this section and I'll paste this here. And don't worry about the size. We can lock this, and let's make this, let's say 200 first. And I'll drag this here. Okay, we still need this to be tiny, super tiny. So let's try 60. 60 is still kind of big for me. So how about 20? Okay, we're almost getting there. So 20, let's say 12. We're almost getting there with the 12. So all I need to do, where I have the white, I'm just going to change that to, let's use one of the colors here, this color. So the fill, we can use the same color so that it covers that in this manner here. So you see, whichever country you picked in, you just try to fit that in perfectly where you are having that. And you can play with the size of this, scale up, scale down. And if you zoom in, it's going to look like, okay, we're actually tracing this particular country here on the map. So that is for the map section. So the last two section we're going to have, it's a table, which is a little bit logical, and then this other section. So why not, let's just create this section because it's simpler. So all we need to do, we can select this Command D to duplicate this particular part, and let's take this out first. That's the map and the rest. So I'm going to push this down here. I'll push this like so. But before we continue, I'll make sure I select these two items, Shift A to put them in an auto layout. Though it's good, the space in between them, we want to be sure that it's 20. And for the width, don't forget our drills, 1, 2, 0, 2. And I can center this here. So we're going to give spacing on the left and right. We can just make that 24. And this is our design. It's good to go. So if I hold Shift, you see we have 20 there. So now after taking this out, we can check this now. So for this other part now, we don't have the description. I think in our design, that is how we made it possible for the user. Okay, you can turn off description here. So what I'm going to do is to right click, and let's look for how we can go to the main component. From here, go to main components. So we can select this part here and go to appearance. Click this, then add a new. So it's going to be show description here. So we should be able to hide that completely. So if I select this item here, we should be able to now hide the description, and you see we have this section, and it looks great. So what do we have here, which is see all? So this is just nothing but a text. So I think all I need to do is to press T and just say see all here. See all, and this is going to be our text muted. Text muted. So text muted. Let's make sure we are maintaining the open sans here. Open sans. So Command X, make sure I'm selecting this particular auto layout. Command V, and I'll delete this and make sure that this is set to center. This is view all. And for the icon, which icon do we have here? So we're going to look for an appropriate icon for this. So I'm going to bring this outside here so we can see whatever I'm designing here. So now I'm going to select this. Instead of the surface PG here, we're using the dark color. So I'm going to set that to the background color. So I'll press F to create a frame, or we can use an auto layout for that. So let me just type T here, and ensures all users have passwords. That's something like this. That is fully secured. And I'll just stop that here. Fully secure. So I have this text. It's going to be 12. Let's see the size in here. So let's set this to 18. That's the line height. 18. And we also have this other text here. That's the number. So I'll put T here. Let's say 50. And this, we are going to set this to like 18 pixels. And yeah, this is great. So the next other one, so I'll press T again, slash, let's say something assets this way, and we can make this 10. And so we have this here, and I'm going to reduce the line height of this. Let's make this 12. So I'll select this two, press Shift A to put them in an auto layout, and make sure that this is the one is at the bottom. And we can remove any kind of spacing between them. And for this, yeah, this is great. So we can add a button for this. So for this, I'm going to use our button. No need to recreate. So we have the rounded button. Should we use this? So we can use the BTN small. This is a good example. Show prefix icon, find show label. We're going to hide that. and we can modify this the way we want. So let's check this and say we want 40. Here for this, we have our rounded items here. So let's source out for icons. So I'm going to click this, go to this, my icon. So let's look for arrow going up. So let's scroll down, arrow going up in this direction. I'm just going to grab this. I'll drop that here. Let me just click to just avoid any delay. So let's look for security. So I'm going to pick one of this. So I'm going to click this security. Let's look at API or integration API. So I'm going to grab this API instead of connection. What other stages here again? So growth. Let's see if we can have any growth. Okay, so this growth, yeah, we can manage this here. So I'll grab this. That's the trending part here. So we can close this, and we have new sets of icons here. I'll select icon 1, 2, 3, and 4, and right click here, and we can create a multiple components. So here this time we can lock this and make sure that this is 20 by 20. And once we've done this, you know the drill. We make sure that each of the stroke is 1 instead of 1.5. Since we're reducing the size, this is going to be 1. And so let's see, for this is going to be 1 as well. And for this is going to be 1. So I think one other part of this here is this head section here for this arrow. Need to make sure that is 1. So we can grab all of this as usual. I'll copy everything, Command X to grab that, and let's go to our icons. You see how our icons are well arranged here. I'll paste this here. So we can come back to this. So I can select this now, and we can look for the arrow here. That's the arrow I just added, which is let's search for arrow, this arrow up. So this is great. And do we have our corner radius? Yes, we do. So I'm going to select item 1, and we can as well reduce the size of this if this is too big. So that's a privilege. I can come here and say we want 28 here by 28 here, and I want this to be centered. So this is good, and that's great. So we can select this item 1 and 2, Shift A to put them in an auto layout, and this other one again, and select this other one, Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So for this, I'm going to set the width of this item to 200, and for the height, I think we can let's use the 100 for this height and see. So we can add some paddings inside. So the spacing between this, I'll set this to, let's say, 24. So we can add a fill to this item. So I use the plus sign, we have the fill. Let's just bring this inside so we can see what I'm doing. So for this here, I think we need to make sure that the height here, it should hug our content here. So let's just hug the content. And for the corner radius, I'm going to use 6 for this. And margin on the left and right, let's use 12. And top and bottom, I'm going to use 12 as well. So this item, instead of hug content, we can just set that to fill container. And then this here, we can set the spacing between them to auto, like this. And let's see, now I'll select this, then the spacing between them, I think I'm just going to reduce this drastically to 12. Then there's our text here. I think we can adjust the size of this text. Let's use 10. Let's see. So I can come in here where I broke this manually. I can just do this. So I think this gives us a better design than using 12. So we can select this and make sure we're changing this background color to our surface color. So BG surface. So for our dark color here, I'm going to use muted for now, text muted for some of this. So for this 50 to be precise, I'm going to change that to white. 50 to white. Then this other one, I think this is great, and great. So we have this other section, and for this our item here, the original design looks like it has no background, so we can minus that. And yeah, so after changing this to white color, we need to convert this to a component. So I'm just going to drag this outside here so we can convert this to a component here. So then this is going to have a property here. This is going to be, let's say, title. Then this is going to be that this first text is going to be the counter. So this is going to be counter. So this is going to be like the subtext. That's this part here. It's going to be our subtext. So subtext like this. We can create that. Then the arrow is fixed for everything here. So we can just set this as counter here, or security widgets. So if I should come back in here, I'm going to search for security widgets. So we can drag this and drop this in here. So I'm going to align this and Command D to duplicate this. Let's just drop this somewhere here. And so let me check the spacing between them. Okay, that's a little adjustment we need to make, but I'll just press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. Then I'll manually do this, change this to 12. That's the spacing between them. Try to align this to center. Now I can press Command D to duplicate this, press down to push this here. So these two items, item 1 and item 2, Shift A to put that in an auto layout. So I'm going to change this to 12. Now we have this section completed. I can select this item or grab this and drop it inside this our design here. Command X, let's just select this item here and paste this here. So this time I'm going to drag this, push this somewhere here. Okay, so this is perfectly aligned. So if I hold Shift, I'll just press down one time. And we have 20, that's the spacing for this. So we are now left with the table section for this design. Now we want to create this section here. So to start that, we're going to create the checkbox first, then we can create other section. So I'm going to search for some icons here. I want to search for check, and I'll select this. We have that here. And let's search for minus. I'll select this, and one last one here. Which other icon do we need? I think nothing for now, so we can close this. For these two items, I'm going to select them and I'll resize them to 14. Make sure you're locking this. This is 14, and we can create multiple components for that. So here I have my check solid. I can just drag this. That's the first one. Shift A to put that in an auto layout. And for the height, I'm going to set that to 18 by 18 here. And select the auto frame. That's the auto layout. And then just make sure this is aligned to center. So for the first, we want this to have a fill and a rounded corner of, let's say, 4. 4 looks great. Let's drag this somewhere here. We have rounded corners of 4. We can even add stroke to this. And for the stroke, I think I'm still going to maintain white for now, since we don't have much option for the colors. White. Or let's see if this text muted will do, but let's just detach this and pick a color here. Let's see, for this, we have this here. So the next thing is at the second state, which is this one that is filled. So I can select this and make sure we're converting this to, let's retry this to checkbox. Once you've done that, select this and let's click this. Now we can add a variant for this. Now we need to fill this art design with this color. So we don't have that color here, so I can have this or you can just manually select this here. So for the icon color in this, I'll just use white for this. So now we have this other section, and you can change your corner radius. I think we can stick to the same white, or you can change that to any other thing that you want to. So for this now, we want this icon to be visible or to be optional. So I can select this, use matching layers, and we can go to appearance and show icon here. So create. So we have this. So we can now search for check box. I'll drag this and drop this here. I think I'm dropping that in the wrong position. So we can decide to check this out. That's the first item we want. So I will add a rectangle. Again, this is going to be of size 18 by 18. That's perfect. So we want this to be circle. That's to stand for the image. So we have this. This is going to stand for our image. Then I'll add another text here. Let's say welcome, or let's use the Zappy here. This is going to be 12, and we can use bold for this, or medium. Yeah, medium looks great. So now that we have this, we can now add a subtext to this, Command D. So we have this, and medium looks great for this. So which other thing here do we need? I think basically that's the content of our table. So I want to select these 3 items, but before we do that, let's come in here and add some photos here. This time we go to plugins on Splash, and let's load that up and pick some images. So let's search for company logo. Let's see what we can get here. So I'm going to select this and add this to this, Command D. I'll duplicate this. Let's look for any other one. I'll add this, Command D. Here, select this. Let's see. We have Jaguar, Command D. Okay, I'll just drag this somewhere here. And we have this. So let's say these items are okay. So we can select these items here. And we want to create a component set for this. So this is going to be create a component sets. So we're going to call all of these items we're having here, we can call them company logos. Company logo. So we can close this. So here, if I should search for company logo, so you see we have this sets here. So I can just insert one of them here. So I'll drag this and drop this here. So we have the company logo, and we have this, and we have this. 1, 2, 3. Shift A to put that in an auto layout. So now the spacing between them here, I'm going to manage that to 8. So this is going to be our table cell. That's for each of our table. Now we now have this table cell, so we can convert this to a component. But before we do that, let's just add some padding here. Let's see how 8 is going to look at the top here. And okay, that's left and right. Let's see 12 here. Now that 12 is too much. Let's still maintain the same 8. And this is great. So we can convert this to a component. We now have our table cell. So at some point, these things are going to be optional. So I'm going to select this first item. It's going to be show text, show title, create that. So this is going to be show image. So we're going to appearance here. I'm going to select this appearance, create a new one, show company logo. Good. So here I'm going to select this as well. It's going to be show checkbox. Show checkbox. By default true. Let's say they are all true for this. So now we can start building our table. So the first thing here is to search for table cell. So I'm going to grab this. So in the first heading, okay, let's just do this in 2 ways. So we have 2 types of tables here. Let's add a field to this. I'm adding a field, and I'm going to use our let's say BG surface for this. So for this BG surface, this guy here, it's going to have the color text white. That's for BG surface. And I think we are good with that, or we can just add. Okay, that's great. So we can add a variant for this. So this other one, it's going to be missing the fill, but it's going to have a stroke, and the stroke is going to be at the bottom alone, bottom. And this stroke is going to take our stroke color, which is this. And which other thing? Our text here, it's going to be white. So that is great. So for this now, this is our first. Let me click on file. This is our first instance. And here we only need the checkbox. So show title, no, show checkbox, it's fine. So we have that here. So Command D to duplicate this here. I'll drag this. And this is going to be our application. So show checkbox hide, and I will show this. So now let's just select this and add a property to this. I'll use matching layers to select the other one. Let's create a property for this called label, so that I can just easily change that in here. So now you notice that there is an issue for this because we are using all just this here. So we need to make sure that we're giving this a fixed height. So I'll select this item and I'll select this other item here. So for the height, we're going to make that fixed here, so that this is going to be the same with this other one. So here, this time, we're going to change this to application. And I want to modify this particular part of this application. So I'm going to select this, and instead of enter, I'll set this to like bold, or let's see, semi-bold looks okay for me. So we have semi-bold, and what else again do we want? I think that's great. So for the color, instead of white, we can just use our text muted for this. That's for the heading. So I can select this, Command D again. Sorry, drag this somewhere here. So this is going to be type. So we can scroll up here. This is going to be type. And Command D again. We can have, what else? Rate. Then Command D, drag this. This is going to be usage, and Command D, this is going to be signals here, signal. So we have this design here. So that's for this. So I'm going to select each of this item here. If we press Shift A to put them in an auto layout, this is fine, but we need to do one thing here. We need to select each of this item, and where we have the width, instead of hawk, we are going to set that to fill container. So don't worry about what we're getting here. Command X to select this, and let's bring this back to our design here. I'm going to paste this here to fill the container. Now we can drag this item like so, and we have this. I'll make sure I'm just covering everywhere. Let's just make sure I'm covering everywhere. This is touching here and this is touching here. So margin on the left and right, we can set that to, is it 12? Let me check what we've been using so far. Let's check this, especially 20. So now I'll set that to 20 here. So now we have the heading part of our table. So I can Command D to duplicate this and drag it somewhere here. So for these are items here, I'm just going to select them, every item here, and I'm just going to change from default to variant 2. So now you see we have this our line underneath this. So but this time here, I think we just need to grab this and then bring this somewhere here. So we see for this time we need an image and also the name. So I'm going to toggle in or bring in show company. Yes, that's fine. So the name here, let's say I'm using the exact name there. We say Zapier. So we have the Zapier. Then for this, instead of having this set to, I'm just going to set that back to the medium here. Medium, that's the original part. We set this to thick because of the, so I'm going to do the same thing here because of the heading, medium, medium. So for this part here, let's see what we have there. That's CRM. So I'm going to change that to CRM. So here the rate, that's a price. So I'm just going to add a $sign to something like this, 0.1%. The usage here, so I'll set this to high, and I'll make sure that this it's set to medium. And for signal, let's say medium as well, medium, and here we're setting that to good. Here signal good, something like this. So now it is easy now to just select this other item, Command D, and we can just drag that here somewhere here, Command D and D. So if you're still not just okay with the spacing, you want them bigger, which I think I do, I can select this item here. So instead of 30 this, we can, let's try 42 and see how these items are going to look now. So 42, this makes them even better. So if you, the more the spacing, the better your design. So I'm going to select each of this, Shift A, to put them in an auto layout, and you see we have our table. Now for this our item, we can decide that some are checked. So like for this our item, make sure you're selecting this. So you can select the second variant here, which indicate that it is checked, and I'll add this other one here. So I'll select this other one again, make sure that it's checked, and it's variant 2. We have this. So now you see we have a clean table. So but we need to add the heading for this table. So this time here we can grab whatever we are having here. Let's just grab this heading here, Command C to copy that, and we will bring this right in here, Command V to paste this. So all I need to do is drag this to the extreme here, so I can push this down here a little. Let's see. Okay, I'm supposed to go down. Okay, good. So for this now, instead of customer location, I can select this. This is going to be third party integration, like this, third party integration. And we can change the icon now since we already have the icon. So I'll double click and make sure I'm selecting this particular icon. So we can come in here and search for API. Let's see, API here. Okay, we have this here. So we have API for this. So you can select this also. For this our icon here, we can decide to change that. So we can have other items. It just makes that even better. So I'll select 8 and this, select this, and let's select 7. Instead of Zappy, I will just change it to, let's see, Paystack. And instead of Zappy, I'll change this to PayPal. So here I'll just change this to Orange, like this. To CRM, I just change this to Gateway. I just change this to e-commerce. So for the pricing, you can just do a lot here. Okay, so my table, it's good. So all I need to do is to grab this frame, select this, Command X to cut this, and we can bring it right in here, Command V. I'll paste this and we can drag this and drop this in here. So all we need to do is to align this item here. We don't even have to struggle. So I'll just align it with the last one here. Select this, Shift A to put them in an auto layout. Make sure that the spacing between them is 20. Once it's 20, then we can align that to center this way. But if you want to use our old trick, you can just make this 122 and make sure that left and right is set to this, and we are setting this to this here. So let's check the spacing between this and this other item. This is 20. So we can select item 1, 2, and 3. So even this fourth one here, press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. Everything here is 20. And one thing here I want us to change here, we can change this to Open Sans here. And we can grab this dashboard, Command C, copy this, and we can kick this outside. Delete this, and I'm going to bring this here. So now we just need to arrange this here. Make sure that this is touching this item. So once it touches this, you get that red line to indicate that, okay, it's touching the sidebar. And we said the spacing at the top should be 24. So now I need to push this, and then let's try to check this. Now this is 29, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is 24. And the spacing on the left hand side here, you see it's 24. And we have our content here at the end. We can drag this to cover whatever we are having here. If I should select this now and let's press the presentation, let's see how our design looks. Now you see we have a nice looking dashboard, and everything here you'd see it's well aligned, and we can decide to do some 1 or 2 prototyping here to see how it works. So for this section here, let's see, we already have a background to that. So we can go to prototype and say that this should be sticky at the top, but we need to make this other section scrollable. So here we can say we want the vertical scroll. So for the vertical scroll, we need to just drag this somewhere here to this. Let's see how this is going to scroll. Okay, good. We have this here. But we want this, you see it's not scrolling properly. This should go underneath the dashboard. So we can come back in here, and this is our frame and this is our dashboard. So here I'm just going to select this here, and then for this header should be above this frame. So let's just say this is the body, so after renaming that to body, so the header should go above the body. So this time now we can now come back, select this, and try to prototype this here again and see. So now we have this cool scrolling effect. So we can now scroll between our content, but yeah, this place looks empty, and you can do 1 or 2. So I can select this here like this. Let's say randomly, I'll just command D, whatever. So good. So you see it just fills up this container, and then this looks great. If you're still watching this tutorial and you're not subscribed to this channel, please kindly hit the subscribe button. So this tutorial is supposed to cover the light mode of this dashboard, but we're running out of time. It's over 2 hours, and I'm sorry for that. So but I'll show you what I was able to achieve. I was able to achieve this without much effort. So this is how the design looks like. So if you want to get the same effect, you can come back to your design here and then click on the empty space, go to your variables. Now click on the plus sign. So we have mode 1 and mode 2, but the mode 1 is the dark mode and the mode 2 is the light mode. So for every of this color, each and every color here, you're going to replace it here with this my colors. Let me go back to this my design. I'm going to open the variables, and you see this is my light mode, and I did create some other colors. You take your time to create the light version of this, and you can change some of the colors. So once you're done with that, all you need to do is to select the frame, and we can go to appearance. You'll get this. When I select this collection, if I switch to dark mode, you see we have our dark mode appearance, and if we get to light mode, we can have this. Okay, on this light mode here, I think one thing I really want us to fix, that's even on the dark mode, it's this spacing here. It's unnecessary. So what I'm going to do is, or how to fix this, is make sure we're selecting this particular cell. For this cell, instead of setting this to fill, we can set that to hug content. So if I should do the same thing for this, instead of fill, we set that to hot content. This is going to give us a better table view. So I'm going to do the same thing for this other one here, and I'll set that to hot content. So if I do this to the last visible item, our table looks much more better. And then from your end, you can decide to change these icons for security and the rest. Let's say this section, if I select this, we can decide to change the icon. You know, we recently added some icons. Let's search for Face ID. That's for security. We can just add that, and I have this already changed on this section. You can as well change that. If you're new to my channel and you really want to see more tutorial tips like this, please kindly hit the subscribe button and share these videos with your friends. So I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.